city of the sun. But on Saturday nights, the city smokes with the nation's most feared team, the Hurricanes. In '88, Miami has made all the tough stops on college football's road to excellence. And except for trouble in Notre Dame, the Canes have kept on rolling. Tonight, Jimmy Johnson says goodbye to 12 seniors, Hurricanes who've done it with a style all their own. In the '80s, no one has thrown the ball farther or better than the BYU Cougars and the Miami Hurricanes. Brigham Young has become known as Quarterback U, claiming 4 All-Americans and 3 NFL top picks. Miami has also made its mark at quarterback. All 3 in this decade became first-round NFL selections. The 4th, Steve Walsh, is closing in on every Hurricane passing record. This is the Orange Bowl in Miami, the home of the Hurricanes of the University of Miami, one of the most feared teams in college football, especially on this field where they have been nearly unbeatable. In fact, they have been unbeatable here since Jimmy Johnson took over as head coach a couple of years ago. Good evening, I'm Bob Carpenter, and welcome to Miami. And tonight, another one of those stops along the way to a possible national championship. The Hurricanes need some help along the way, of course, but BYU in the way tonight as they play their 3rd consecutive tough game. LSU, Arkansas, and now BYU here this evening. So a tough one for the Hurricanes at home. And Kevin Kiley, the Cougars of BYU, a bit erratic the last couple of weeks, losing 2 of their last 3, but they were good enough earlier to put together a 7-game winning streak.
Well, that was before they had some injuries, Bobby. They lost to Utah 2 weeks ago. 56 points they gave up to Utah. Very, very strange thing for BYU to do, but they do have some injuries. 8 turnovers in that game. I talked to Lavelle Edwards yesterday. He said he would like his team to be playing better as he comes to Miami. I'm sure everyone that comes to Miami would like his team to be playing well. But they do have some injuries. The one thing they do is pass the ball well, but they're going up against a team that passes the ball extremely well also.
Well, you look back to the early '80s, and quarterback U was in Provo, Utah. If the Cougars rode the passing game to a national championship in 1984, it is the Hurricane program that has taken that concept and basically perfected it.
Well, when you think about it, we're only a couple of miles from Miami International Airport. It's Air Lavelle and Air Jimmy, meaning Jimmy Johnson. Steve Walsh is in the cockpit for Miami these days. 28 touchdowns so far this year. He's a tremendous competitor, and they can put the ball up, but they also have great speed, and they'll beat you sideline to sideline, and that could be a problem for BYU because they're big and they're strong, but the Cougars are not quick, and quickness will be the difference in this game. Miami's going to put a lot of pressure on the corners, look for a lot of sweeps. BYU's got to do something defensively to stop them.
All right, and they're expecting about 60,000 here at the Orange Bowl tonight, and they are ready to welcome their Hurricanes of Miami. And down on the sidelines is Chris Fowler.
Okay, thanks very much, Bob. BYU obviously big underdogs tonight, 24 points in fact. Now, usually in their WAC games, they are the teams with the pressure on them. The teams with everything to lose and nothing to gain. The last time they were big underdogs, remember though, they beat Texas 47-6. They say they like the underdog role. They're going to come out tonight and play loose with nothing to lose.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't think we could beat them. We came down here to win the football game. Not too many people, or if not any people in America, are giving us a prayer, but you know, we're not playing with everybody in America. We're just playing for BYU, and we came down here to win the game, and we're coming out here with the right kind of attitude, and we're going to get after it.
It is certainly a tough task. Miami has never lost to an unranked team since Jimmy Johnson took over as coach. BYU trying to become the first, Bob.
Right, and that big roar behind Chris was Miami taking the field, and here come the Cougars of BYU. Tonight's game from Miami is brought to you by Michelob. One taste will tell you why the night belongs to Michelob. By Atra Plus, Gillette made it smoother. And by Epic's VCR Football, the football game that lets you coach the pros.
Jimmy Johnson is also a pretty good politician. Now, he has spent the last couple of weeks telling anyone who'll listen that if Notre Dame loses to West Virginia in the Fiesta Bowl, the Hurricanes should be #1, even though they have that one loss. We asked him about that campaign.
I really don't feel like I am politicking for #1. And in fact, I'm not even saying vote us for #1. I'm just saying, vote for the best football team in the country, for #1. In our situation, I do want to bring to light the difficulty of our schedule, because I think that we've had the most difficult schedule in the country.
There's what Jimmy Johnson is talking about. Look at the comparison of the opponent's strength, Miami versus West Virginia. Of course, Don Nealon says, hey, what about the one team Miami lost to? Notre Dame. If we beat them, he says West Virginia should be #1. Back up to Bob and Kevin.
All right, Chris, and there are some folks, Kevin Kiley, who think that if West Virginia does beat Notre Dame, that takes the Notre Dame schedule and basically transfers it over to the Mountaineers.
I'm one of those people.
Yes, you are.
The bowl opponent that was missing on the West Virginia graphic, of course, is Notre Dame. And I believe that West Virginia, Miami had a chance at Notre Dame and lost that game by a point. Based on the formula that Jimmy uses, and I have great respect for him and for that schedule that they played, but based on that formula, if West Virginia was to beat Notre Dame by just 1 point, then Notre Dame would fall into the same category as Miami, and they should still be eligible for the national title. I think West Virginia's got a shot at it. If they win it, they ought to get it.
Miami won the toss. Lavelle Edwards' team to kick it off. And at the 10-yard line is Randall Hill, angling his way over the 30 and the 35 to the 37-yard line. Here's the Hurricanes offensively. Steve Walsh, 1 touchdown pass away from Vinny Testaverde's all-time record. The fullback, senior All-American Cleveland Gary. Sophomore Leonard Conley is the halfback. Sophomore Randall Hill has great speed at split end. Senior Andre Brown has caught 8 for touchdowns. The tight end, sophomore Rob Chudzinski. At center, junior Bobby Garcia. The guards are sophomores Mike Sullivan and Darren Handy. And at tackle, seniors Darren Bruce and John O'Neill. To the air on first down, across midfield. BYU says incomplete, but no, sir. It is complete to Andre Brown. Steve Walsh completing 60% of his passes. With that throw, he's up around 2,900 now on the year. There are the touchdown passes, a new Miami record for a season. Testaverde had 26 in 86. This is Leonard Conley inside the 40. Wrapped up by Eric Bergeson, and on the first 2 plays, Miami definitely on the move in the air and the ground.
One of the problems BYU is going to have today is on the defensive line. This is a little hesitation draw play. You can see the Miami line just pushing people out. Mike Sullivan makes a big block, and then Leonard Conley, very quick. One of the things that will give BYU problems, the quickness, getting into the secondary.
On second and short, it's Conley turning it into a first down. He's inside the 35, and here's the Cougars defensively. With Tim Wright injured, Mark Smith gets the start at nose guard. Pete Harston starts at left tackle. Bud Orr for the injured Tim Clark at right tackle. The inside linebackers are senior Reagan Hansen and junior Bob Davis. At outside backer, juniors Dwayne Johnson and Chad Robinson. The cornerbacks are senior interceptor Rodney Rice and junior Eric Bergeson. Seniors Troy Long and Scott Peterson are the safeties. Here's Cleveland Gary. Cleveland Gary, the leading receiver on the Miami team. He's also, from a yardage standpoint, the leading ball carrier. Leonard Conley has more carries, but Gary has more yards. They're very close in both situations. Lavelle Edwards of the Cougars in his 17th year, and you see all the stats on him. What a turnaround since he came to the BYU program almost 2 decades ago. We'll talk more about that as the night goes on. Easily completed. Walsh to Andre Brown. Inside the 20, it's another first down. Eric Bergerson on the not too tight coverage, a gain of 14. And Kevin Kiley, against that BYU defense, the Canes are making it look pretty easy.
Well, BYU cannot afford to play these guys too tight defensively. Walsh goes right back, and you can see how far they are off the receiver. They can't get up on him, because if they do, the quickness of the Miami team will go right by him. They're hoping Miami take a lot of plays and make a mistake.
This quickly, the ball is to the 18. Outside, it's Andre Brown again, averaging 17 yards a catch with 8 touchdowns. Rodney Rice, that talented left cornerback of the Cougars, 31, the man in on the stop. Rodney Rice has 6 pickoffs on the year, 12 in his career. And he's playing next to Troy Long at strong safety, who also has 12 in his career, 4 this year. So they have interception capabilities back there.
Rice is the guy with closing speed in the secondary. He is the man most likely to intercept.
Conley wrapped up for a loss by Bob Davis, a 6'2 junior linebacker. There is a flag on the play as Davis got great penetration. And against Miami, sometimes you have to encroach to get into the offensive backfield.
Was the outside linebacker, number 9, Chad Robinson. Another thing that Miami will do to this team,
on the defense, second down,
because they do not have the quickness, they'll force them to try to get the jump. Top of your screen, you saw number 9. He met the block. He gave Davis a chance to come in, but he had to jump the count. BYU will attempt to do that, but they have got to stay on their side of the line.
And one of the worst situations for a defense to be, any defense in the nation, is facing second and short yardage against Miami. They'll go with the give to Cleveland Gary. First down inside the 5. Met there by Rodney Rice and Chad Robinson. It'll be first and goal for the Hurricanes. By the time they run the next play, there will be about 3 minutes elapsed in this game, and that's how quickly they've taken it down the field. Miami will check in a couple of tight ends here, Kevin. Randy Bethel and Rob Chudzinski on first and goal.
BYU again has had trouble on the defensive line. They're missing some people. Tim Clark did not make the trip. Starting tackle.
Gary into the end zone. He appeared to be stopped for little or no gain. And Cleveland Gary, 3 minutes and 4 seconds into the game, puts Miami on the scoreboard.
Miami's offensive line quick, and Gary with the hesitation, just enough to create a hole for himself. Bobby Garcia, the center, big block. Cleveland Gary showed you he can run the ball as well as catch it.
Carlos Huerta is 39 for 39 in points after. That's a famous end of the stadium where some big field goals in Super Bowls and other games have been kicked over the years. So a little more than 3 minutes in, the home team is already on top. FA action from Miami being brought to you by Mazda and the exciting new Mazda cars and trucks for 1989. And by Visa, your pass to the Super Bowl. It's everywhere you want to be. And a hearty congratulations to the best football player in the country. Barry Sanders winning the Heisman today. The voting margin rather wide, Kevin Kiley, but certainly very well deserved.
He won the Heisman. He took the Heisman.
You got it.
Incredible season out of Oklahoma State. And all the hype early in the year really didn't include Barry Sanders, and hats off to him.
Maybe Steve Walsh said it best before the game. He said, hey, the guy did it every week, week in, week out.
Yep.
Edgar Bennis will kick off for Miami. That was Tony Crutchfield and Stacy Corley you saw back to receive the kick. It will twist over to the right side for the return team, and here's Tony Crutchfield. Stumbling forward over the 20. Here are the Cougars offensively. The quarterback is junior Sean Covey. The fullback, junior Fred Whittingham, speedy sophomore Matt Bellini, the halfback, and a deep threat. BYU's top receiver, senior Chuck Cutler. Freshman Bryce Doman with him. Senior Darren Hanley is the tight end. The center is senior Phil Nowahi. Seniors Warren Wheat and Don Busenbark are the guards. At tackle, Seniors John Hunter and all WAC performer Brian White. A fake to the only back, Bellini, and then looping it to him and incomplete up the right sideline at the 45-yard line. There is pressure on the pass from Bill Hawkins, the All-American and right defensive end.
Well, anytime you have one back in the backfield, you better get rid of it quick, or your line better do some blocking. Here's Bill Hawkins, the All-American candidate. Quickness again around the outside. And now Covey is fair game. This ball was almost complete, though. He got it off, and there was a receiver up the sideline. Had the ball been a little shorter.
That was Darren Hanley, the tight end, facing Hawkins. Now, backside pressure. Football is on the ground. Picked up by Hanley. Now spotted back where he picked it up, and Greg Mark came in from left end to make a big hit, number 94.
All right, here's more of the same from the other side. Now, Greg Mark used to be a linebacker, number 94. He runs around the block, hog ties Covey, and the ball is loose, and Hanley picks it up, gets it back to the line of scrimmage. But that's really what the problem is for BYU. They're big and strong on the offensive line, but not real quick feet.
That was defensive line coach Butch Davis with Jimmy Johnson. They have to be pleased with their first two efforts. Shotgun on 3rd and 10. Covey hit as he releases, and it's caught by Matt Odell, but he's out of bounds. Matt Odell had not caught a pass all year. His father was one of the all-time greats at BYU, and just as number 19 thought he had that first grab right in front of the bench, they rule him OB.
Take a look at it. I think that what they're arguing is whether he was pushed out of bounds. Odell goes up. Clearly would have come in. Charles Farms knocked him out. He clearly would have come down without help from Farms.
All WAC punter Pat Thompson. This guy can hit it and hit it high. Averaging 45 a kick. This one doesn't turn over for him properly. And a fair catch at the 42 by Darrell Spencer. So Miami will have good field position. 4:17 into the game. Miami on top, 7-0. Early 7-0. And be sure to join ESPN tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, for the semifinals of the Nabisco Masters. Number 1 match will put Stefan Edberg and Boris Becker on the court together. Then it's Ivan Lendl and Jakob Lasik in semifinal 2. And one of the few times all year you'll see Steve Walsh sacked. Chad Robinson from right outside linebacker. Miami had only been sacked, Walsh and Craig Erickson, 4 times all year. And that's only the 4th time Walsh has been put down behind the lines.
Well, that's a big, big play for BYU. As big as any offensive play. Proving they can get to Walsh. That means Miami will have to alter their blocking schemes a little bit, pick those people up. It'll cut down on their versatility offensively.
It was a loss of 8. We'll call it a long 8. Walsh out to the left flat, and a good hit there on Leonard Conley by Bob Davis. Davis at 6'2", 230, a junior. He's an all-WAC performer at linebacker. Had his knee scoped after the Utah game, and now is okay. Luckily for BYU, they had a week off after that wild one in Salt Lake City, and able to get Davis back, and he looks okay tonight, Kev, with that knee injury.
Looks real good. They wanted to go to Cleveland Gary on that play, but he was covered by the outside backer.
Walsh with time, but nowhere near first down yardage. Complete ahead to Leonard Conley. Decent pressure by the Cougars, and good coverage underneath by Tony Crutchfield.
Remember that the BYU team is a team that plays against one of the best passing attacks in the nation every day in practice. They're very familiar with passing schemes, and they know how to rush the passer.
Tim Kalau punting the ball to Rodney Rice. 6 yards a return, his longest of the year, 23. BYU should get pretty decent field position out of this kick. It'll squirt out of bounds right near the 30. at about the 27.5. Let's meet the Hurricanes defensively with 9 sacks between them. Russell Maryland and Jimmy Jones are the defensive tackles. Junior Greg Mark and All-American senior Bill Hawkins at the ends. The middle linebacker is senior Rod Carter, a big hitter. Senior Randy Shannon and big play sophomore Maurice Crum, the outside backers. At cornerback, experienced seniors Donald Ellis and Bubba McDowell. The safeties, junior Bobby Harden, and freshman, a true freshman, Charles Farms. Good protection for Sean Covey, and out to the right side for the fullback, Fred Whittingham. Whittingham catches his 20th of the year. Versatile performer who's averaging 6 per carry, 9 for each catch. And Randy Shannon from strong side linebacker on it. Sean Covey at 55% on the year, approaching 2,600 yards with 13 scores and 8 picked off. You add 11 touchdowns by Ty Detmer, his backup, and they've got a good total of touchdown passes. Little jaw play off the shotgun. Mike Solito, the fullback who backs up Whittingham. Good yardage out near midfield before the safety. Charles Farms can knock him out.
Defensive ends for Miami taking the outside rush. Watch Hawkins on the right side of your screen. He goes outside and they seal it inside. Solito knows exactly what to do. BYU not a power running team, but they will take advantage of your pass rush, and they do get yardage on the ground. They average 141 yards a game.
Chuck Cutler motioning near side. A quick across to Bellini as he just did a quick little look-in from his slot position. And Sean Covey put it right there for a 19-yard gain.
One of the things Miami people were concerned about was the transition from the Arkansas wishbone to a passing game that is sophisticated as this one is, and you can see how quick they are to get the ball off. Covey to Bellini in the seam, bang, he's right past the linebackers and down deep into Miami territory.
Play to Mike Solito. Nothing there. 94. Greg Mark snuffed it out. First at left end, they graduated, Miami did. All-American and team career sack leader Dan Stubb. So Mark out of his shadow this year. He had 6 sacks and 6 tackles for losses coming in. Count the first catch of the year for Matt Odell, whose father Phil holds the BYU career receiving record for a single season, and this is numero uno for Mr. Odell.
And don't think the Miami coaches didn't scout this team and decide that maybe Odell isn't a threat. He's a threat on that play. There's no one within 10 yards of him. Even the BYU coaches say he doesn't have his dad. He has his mama's hands, not his dad's hands. He's caught 2 tonight.
Well, Matt Odell from Lavelle Edwards' hometown of Orem, Utah. A first down and the ball down to the 21. Play action. Now Bellini right across the middle and wrapped up by Rod Carter, the middle linebacker, number 91. You might remember when the Canes played LSU on the road a couple of weeks ago, we made the point that early in the game often Carter will come up with a big hit that will often set the tone for his defensive teammates. He did it in that game, made a good tackle there, but not the big hit yet.
Very difficult for linebackers against a team like this to get a good shot at a guy. Really, the best way is on a crossing pattern, but BYU is very sophisticated.
Covey looking for his 5th straight completion. A receiver is down in the end zone. No flags as they were looking for Chuck Cutler, the all-WAC performer. Cutler's caught 10 touchdown passes this year. Appeared a bit of a trip near the goal line, and flags did not fly as Crum and Harden from weak side backer and strong safety were back on the coverage.
Crum is going to be expected to cover people deep. He's a linebacker type. But frankly, the BYU receivers are not all that quick. They've only sent 2 wide receivers to the pros in all the years Lavelle Edwards has been there. These guys are not speed burners, they're possession receivers.
Ooh, Covey hit hard. Met head-on by Maurice Crum. It was the 8th play of the drive. They had 3rd and 7. Covey nowhere near the yardage he needed, and he took a vicious hit.
Watch the wide receivers and the time it's taken him. There you get a bump to get into the route. Look at Cutler. Now Cutler's made 3 cuts already before he even turns around, and Covey by this time is saying, I got to get out of here. And Maurice Crum got Rod Carter's hit right there.
Jason Chaffetz with a 35-yard attempt, hash mark left. And the BYU kicking game, which has been rather erratic this year, pays off in 3 points there. Chaffetz now 6 for 10 as he continues to kick the ball through the uprights. 7-3 Miami. It's still early.
BYU player who has shown a tremendous amount of courage. He is Kirk Davis right behind me here, a senior defensive back. Now, last year, he was diagnosed as having Hodgkin's disease, a form of cancer, and the game after that diagnosis went out against New Mexico and returned an interception for a touchdown. Then he postponed his surgery with doctors okay for 3 weeks so he could help his team finish out the season. He's made a comeback this year after all kinds of therapy and radiation therapy. Coaches call him an inspiration. Look for him on the special teams tonight, guys.
All right, Chris, thank you. And a story like that can inspire all of us on a college football Saturday night. You're looking at Earl Kaufman, a freshman out of Texas, who will handle the place kicking chores. Back to receive it, Randall Hill and Darrell Spencer. It'll be Hill at the 6. He squirts through a host of tacklers and piggybacks 3 or 4 more all the way out to the 38, maybe the 39. A late flag flies. Great effort on special teams by Randall Hill, a sophomore wide receiver.
On the kicking team.
And that will hurt BYU. Good yardage for Miami on the return. 15 more will be added on, and the Canes will be way out around midfield. Watch for Scott Peterson, number 5, on the replay. He came in and hit Dennis Kelleher.
That's something that should not happen to BYU. They need to play a perfect game in order to stay close, much less win.
So Miami at the Cougar 46 on this starting drive. Leonard Conley got the deep pitch, not much there. Bud Orr, a former junior college All-American who normally backs up Pete Harston on the left side, in there because Tim Clark had knee surgery today, re-injuring a knee that he had hurt earlier. Clark, a guy they miss, who's an academic all-WAC performer at right tackle. So, Kevin, they're very short-handed in that department, and they're going to have to use a lot of linebackers over the 60 minutes tonight. On 2nd and 11, Walsh out of the reach of Andre Brown.
First down is so important to Miami. Over the last 2 series, they had the big loss from BYU on the last series, and then that running play for minus yardage on first down. Now, they were 8.6 in the first drive on first down, and now BYU has made an adjustment.
Second straight drive that the Hurricanes will face 3rd and long. For Cleveland, Gary, too tall. 36, Bob Davis on the coverage, and BYU has held again. You saw from the top of your screen Chad Robinson, number 9, pressuring Steve Walsh, the Miami quarterback.
That was pretty good coverage by Davis. That was the coverage Miami wanted, but Davis got between Walsh and Gary, and he had to throw it over his head.
Tim Colau, 38 yards a kick. handles a high snap, and it is blocked by the Cougars. With it is number 41. That is Mark Neal inside the 10. Brian Mitchell on the block, and then picked up by Mark Neal. Big play for the visitors on special teams.
Brian Mitchell, number 30, from the outside, never blocks, never leaves his feet. Yes, he does, but he's able to stay on his feet. Never picked up, and now BYU headed the other way. Big play now for the Cougars. Remember the underdog. You don't want to give them a foothold.
That comes on the heels of two good series by the BYU defense. Covey, left side. 88 is Darren Hanley, the tight end. A gain of a couple down inside the 6. Donnie Ellison, left cornerback, and Randy Shannon. Kevin, down at that end of the stadium, which is the closed end of this horseshoe, it can get very noisy and distracting to visiting teams.
Well, the decibel level certainly did go up. Now, BYU is at a little bit of a disadvantage here. Normally, you try to run crossing patterns with your speed, but their speed can't match Miami. Look for a pick play, something quick, and Covey's got to throw the ball hard. Don't hang it up there.
In motion, and the quarterback hit hard as he releases. Randy Shannon, 22, all over Sean Covey. And now the Miami defense becomes a factor. It'll be 3rd and goal.
Randy Shannon, number 22. Again, that quickness on the outside. We've seen it 3 times now. Covey, BYU they really need to throw the ball quickly down here. They don't have the speed, and it's got to be a perfect pass with velocity because Miami can outrun everything, including the ball.
It's a sack by Bobby Harden, way back at the 18-yard line.
What this was supposed to be was a bootleg and maybe a run, maybe a drag pattern from the tight end on the other side. But by formation with the 2 tight ends, BYU didn't give themselves a chance.
Another chance for Jason Chaffetz, who hit from 35 a little earlier. Almost the same exact position. And he pulls it, and it is wide to the left. So the big play on special teams gives BYU a big 0. And Kevin, we talked a few moments ago about their kicking game. It's been a disappointment for Lavelle Edwards this year.
Well, the tackle on the block punt attempt was the biggest play for Miami. BYU had a chance to run that in, and the tackle on the player who picked up the block punt really made it for Miami.
So with 3 minutes and 51 seconds to play in the first quarter, home team still on top. Walsh gives it to Fred Highsmith. Freddie, in the NFL you can do that, but not in college football. Let's go back to the block punt. And we'll see who chases down Mark Neal.
So here's the block. Now it's the punter.
Tim Kalau, 19.
Kalau is the one that's going to save this. He's the only one that can make this tackle. He makes it on the 8-yard line. The defense takes over, but that is a big play because BYU will not get in the end zone that many times tonight.
And they got nothing on the drive. Highsmith again. Fred running very low to the ground as he stooped down and squirted his way through there. It'll be 3rd down as Chad Robinson made the play. Tim Kalau, a very versatile performer for Miami. He punts. He's the holder on placement and a would-be tackler on special teams when something goes wrong. You can see where the marker is. They have to get the football to the 20-yard line, or 30 rather, as they started on first down at the 20.
Dangerous down for BYU. They must respect the run, and yet Miami is very dangerous in the pass.
A little quickie across the middle. Randy Bethel, the tight end, covered very well by Troy Long. Tight end and the strong safety battling. We talked about Long with his good coverage earlier. He has 4 interceptions on the year, and Randy Bethel denied. It'll be time for Tim Kalau to punt once more. So that's 3 drives in a row. Steve Walsh in Miami cannot move the football.
Miami feels that they need to run the ball against that weakened front of BYU, and it's thrown them off their game. Aside from the first drive, they've looked very hesitant, not sure of what they're doing.
Won't turn over for Kalau. Rodney Rice. Nice little return inside his own 40. And he gets out near the 45-yard line. Bobby Harden with the tackle. 37 yards on the kick, 10 on the return. Coming into this tough game on the road, BYU head coach Lavelle Edwards very concerned about his club, coming off a 57-28 shellacking at Utah. First time the Utes had beaten the Cougars in 10 years. Kevin, it looks like they're ready tonight.
I don't think people realize you don't see BYU that much, but they invented the college passing game. That man right there, Lavelle Edwards, he put it in, and it's worked out pretty well for the Cougars, and they play pretty good defense when they're healthy.
Personal foul on the kicking team. First down.
I think the other thing, the key factor in this game is that the familiarity of BYU with the passing game of Miami. Again, they play against their own offense day in and day out, and they are very, very sophisticated.
They're about to play in their 13th bowl game total, 11 of those consecutively. Good field position for the Cougars. Covey dumps it in the middle, and catching it is Fred Whittingham, the fullback. Bobby Harden from safety to make the tackle. Very quick penetration on the defensive line by Greg Mark, who appeared to almost be offsides on the play.
All-American Bill Hawkins, good job in the middle. They're doing their blocking. Now Hawkins can smell it. He just doesn't. He gets lost in the pile. Tremendous concentration by Whittingham. Hawkins trying to get his hands on him, but Whittingham catching the ball and getting it upfield.
That time, Shane Curry is across the line too quickly. Sean Covey, 6 of 11 for 53 yards after that last strange completion. So the defense encroaching. Hey, talk about turnarounds. How about before Lavelle Edwards and after the head coach out in Provo? Jimmy Johnson, of course, has done an outstanding job on the heels of Howard Schnellenberger here. But before Lavelle Edwards, BYU averaged 3 wins a year over 47 years. After he came along, they took a WAC title. They had 1 in all that time. And now they've won 154 games, and they've won the conference 11 times. Covey out right side for Whittingham. Kevin, we got a couple of very versatile fullbacks in this game tonight. Cleveland Gary, and now we're seeing the repertoire of Fred Whittingham.
Well, what they're doing is they're running trips to the wide side of the field, and they're getting isolated coverage. Shannon, a linebacker on that backside, so they're getting a back on a linebacker, and that's what the offense wants to go. Again, back to the sophistication of BYU. They'll use different snap counts. They'll get you to jump off sides. They'll use every advantage. They don't have the athletes that some other programs do, but they know what they're doing when they're on their game.
Hawkins across the line. Was he drawn across the line? In and out of the hands of Randy Shannon. Flags everywhere as 54 Bill Hawkins came flying in from right defensive end before the snap. 1:02 remaining in the first quarter. And he was drawn. John Hunter, left tackle, 68. evidently the Cougar who drew Hawkins offside.
Tough to miss Hunter, 6'8", 300 pounds.
Hey, are they big? They average 280. They're big, but not very quick, and that was a concern of their offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, Roger French, coming in. Covey stands in there, and it's intercepted. Bobby Harden in the end zone, his second interception of the year. No receivers nearby.
Rod Carter made that play. Rod Carter, the middle linebacker, would not let the receiver get to the middle of the field, and Covey wanted to drive this ball up the middle of the field, but 91 in orange, Rod Carter, watch, right corner of your screen. He's going to leave it now. What he's doing, he's shadowing the receiver. And he'll come back into the picture. You see, he never let him get to the middle of the field. The interception made. Tremendous play by the middle linebacker. 91, Rod Carter.
Pretty far downfield.
All the way, step for step.
Hurricanes at their 20, up over the top, and Andre Brown turning his back on the defense and waiting for the football. Brian Mitchell on the coverage, but an easy catch for Andre Brown, who did a 180 and cradled it out near the 35-yard line.
So you really have to be impressed with Walsh. Walsh, not a tremendously strong arm, but he floated that ball. He knew instantly he had all day to throw it, and he just laid it in there. Very soft.
That's Fred Highsmith on the deep pitch. Looked like he was heading for the sideline, and then suddenly cut inside on Bob Davis, who got a hit on him. But a nice job of Highsmith getting out about 5 yards or so.
Miami ran to the boundary, and the reason they did, because BYU has a speed problem. If they're really a deficiency against Miami, they have to put extra people to the wide side of the field defensively, so Miami runs to the short side of the defense, hoping to break it.
Guys up front for BYU, and there's one of them with a hit. Fred Highsmith did well to fight off that initial hit and then get some yardage as the first quarter comes to a close. Lavelle Edwards' team has played well. They've wasted a big break, and after 15 minutes of play, Miami leads 7-3.
Familiar story for the BYU defense as Rodney Rice, the cornerback, has injured his left elbow. Trainers and doctors just wrapped it in a soft cast and then a Nace bandage. You see him being taken to the dressing room. He'll not return tonight, fellas.
Boy, what a tough break for BYU, and also Lavelle Edwards looking ahead to that Freedom Bowl December 29th against Colorado. You hope that the career of Rodney Rice, a great senior, is not over. 3rd and 2. They'll run it for the first down with a fullback, the All-American, says the Football News, Cleveland Gary, averaging 4 yards a carry, 11.6 yards per reception. He is a versatile man. They look to him for the run on 3rd down.
BYU again was leaning here, the left side of the line. Bethel, the tight end, making a big block. And then Gary, 226 pounds with soft hands, they say, and he'll go in the first few rounds of the draft, first or second.
To the left side, that's Dale Dawkins, a junior from Dodgertown up the coast, Vero Beach. He catches his 26th pass of the year. He's averaging more per catch than any other Hurricane player. 17 yards. And Walsh had it right on the money.
Look for Walsh to start picking on those corners with Rice out. BYU does not go very deep in the defensive secondary. It'll also limit their coverages, their nickel and their dime coverage.
Oh, Rodney Rice's backup is Kurt Davis, the young man that Chris Fowler talked about earlier. Here's Cleveland Gary off the left side. Bob Davis, 36, and others will unpile. They have brought in number 30, a sophomore, Brian Mitchell, who normally backs up Eric Bergerson on the right side. Mitchell doesn't start, but he does have good interception capability. He's picked off 4 this year.
Well, he has all the tools, but they say he's inconsistent. You don't want to be inconsistent against Miami.
On On first down, Walsh to the right sideline. Andre Brown, defended by Brian Mitchell. And Kevin, pro scouts look for the quarterback who can make this long throw and get it there in a hurry.
And here's Brian Mitchell, number 30, playing soft. BYU must do that. Walsh gets the ball right there to Brown. BYU cannot afford to play these fellas too tight. Sideline pattern accuracy, of course, is one of Walsh's strong points. 5 catches, 58 yards for Brown so far.
9-yard gain on first down. Cleveland Gary with the wide pitch. He's got the first down and gets inside the 25. Scott Peterson from free safety, number 5, getting up on the tackle. So let's check our storyline Miami. BYU has failed to capitalize on good field position. Andre Brown has caught passes from Steve Walsh in fine fashion. Miami piling up the yards. BYU not too bad there so far. And Cleveland Gary with a 4-yard touchdown run. The only touchdown of the game so far. We're a minute and 20 seconds into the second quarter of play. 7-3 Miami. Walsh beautifully to Andre Brown. Again working on Brian Mitchell. Well, we'll find out in a couple weeks whether that banner is true or not, but Steve Walsh certainly will be the #1 man if he plays for Jimmy Johnson next year when folks talk about the '89 Heisman.
Seems unfair. Walsh Brown against Brian Mitchell. Brian's the one that blocked the punt, you may remember. Again, accuracy. No great gun here, but the ball will be accurate. Mitchell trying to close, not quick enough.
Walsh now 8 out of 12, 96 yards. On first and goal, Gary is undercut by Troy Long, number 21, who made a fine play penetrating from safety.
Need to repeat here, Tim Clark did not make the trip. 6'5", 255-pound senior tackle. Pete Hairston's been hurt. Right there, number 55, he's in the game. Bud Orr is playing, and they will go with Rick Wilson on the goal line if need be, but they're very short on the defensive line, are the Cougars of BYU.
A 2nd-and-1 pass and a little bit too short for Fred Highsmith.
BYU loading up defensively. You can see all the white hats. So Miami decides to go for the short pass. I kind of question this call. Based on the injury situation for BYU, ball is short.
It'll be 3rd and goal at the 1. Cleveland Gary up over the top. And on the 12th play of the drive, Jimmy Johnson's Hurricanes call on number 43 again. His 2nd touchdown of the night. It's 13-3. Successive points after through on the year, and Miami opens up an 11-point lead.
Left side of that line. Here comes the right side of the line crossing over. Left side clears it out. Darren Bruce, Sullivan, Garcia, and Gary. Not only can he catch, but he can jump too. Way over the line for a touchdown.
You also saw 34 Tracy Waiters on a kamikaze mission ahead of the ball carrier himself. 12:43 second quarter, Miami 14-3.
Almaden wine. Every glass is sheer pleasure, pure enjoyment. And that's all a great wine was ever meant to be. Almaden, for the sheer pleasure of it.
To explain the most advanced Volvo ever requires some technical assistance to properly show its multi-link independent rear suspension, the brain center of its anti-lock braking system, the power of an intercooled turbo, and the engineering responsible for its driver's side airbag. But the Volvo 780 isn't just state-of-the-art, it's art.
American ingenuity is finding a simple way to do a job well. At Tempstar, we applied our ingenuity to home heating. We invented a furnace that's 95.8% efficient. The ingenious part is that the technology is simple, proven reliable. 2 heat exchangers instead of 1, backed by a limited lifetime warranty. The Tempstar gas furnace, brought to you by your Tempstar dealer.
ESPN CFA primetime football from Miami is brought to you by Volvo, a car you can believe in. By Tempstar, the newest name in home heating and air conditioning. You can rely on the star. And by the U.S. Army. Learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. So we're 2 minutes and 17 seconds into the second quarter. Miami on top 14-3. And if the Hurricanes take control of this football game at this juncture, Lavelle Edwards would look back on that first quarter and think about what might have been. Edgar Venice on the kick. Tony Crutchfield and Stacy Corley back. This is Crutchfield at his 5. A flag flies late as Crutchfield gets up to the 28-yard line. Charles Farms in on the stop after the 24-yard kickoff return. Well, we've seen a few personal fouls on special teams tonight. Now we get a clip on the return team.
I think that was on Olima Harrington, number 15 for BYU.
So Lavelle Edwards will watch his team start way back. Very interesting scoring drive by Miami. See the number of plays that matches their longest scoring drive of the year in numbers of plays. They went 80% of the field in just over 3 minutes, and Cleveland Gary got his second touchdown run of the night. This one was a plunge through the air.
Well, Brigham Young can't complain. They've had the big plays. They've moved the ball offensively. The one thing they don't have is points.
They have as much as they could hope for, except for the finishing touches here so far tonight. Now, closed end of the stadium with that big crowd roaring. Draw play to Fred Whittingham, and he is stuffed. Greg March, Shane Curry, Cortez Kennedy, and others.
Well, the problem with the draw play on first down backed up to your own goal line is that the last thing you say when you leave the huddle is look out for the draw play. BYU is also very big on screen plays back here because they are not a power running team, so you can expect that type of play, and Miami did.
Jimmy Johnson's Miami Hurricanes, 3 minutes into the second quarter, trying to win that 10th game of the year on top 14-3 here at the Orange Bowl. With Kevin Kiley and Chris Fowler, this is Bob Carpenter as we wrap up our regular season on ESPN and look ahead to Bowl Week coming up at the end of December. Timeout has been called by the Cougars as Sean Covey will confer over on the sideline with Lavelle Edwards and offensive coordinator Roger French. NFL Game Day, all the crew will be with you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. They'll preview and feature the day coming up in the NFL. Then at 7 p.m. they're back with highlights of every NFL game played on prime time. At 8 p.m. our live coverage continues in the AFC as the Steelers visit the House of Pain to take on the hard-hitting Oilers. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann call it for you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern from Texas. They've been breaking a lot of face masks down there, the Oilers have this year. Sean Covey's been knocked for a couple of concussions. That's why Ty Detmer has played some. His backup at BYU. They got a couple of pretty good young quarterbacks here, Kevin. Detmer is a freshman. They also have Chris Hodge, a freshman out of Pocatello, Idaho, who stands 6'4", and they think he's going to be a good one in the future.
Well, the pressure at BYU, because of the quarterback tradition, can ruin a lot of good young athletes if they're not handled properly. And of course, the BYU staff is aware of that, and they do handle them well.
On 2nd and 13, this is Mike Solito. First down, out over the 25. Charles Farnes from free safety had to make the tackle after a 20-yard pickup by Solito, a junior.
One single back left, a trap, and actually what it was a misdirection. Busenbark went and just vacated the hole. The defense followed him, and Solito was able to get through that hole.
And credit 63, right tackle Brian White, the all-wet performer with a big block on that first down. Into a crowd of players, Whittingham tried to catch it. Russell Maryland and Greg Mark in on the pressure.
Well, that thing doesn't look right, and the reason I think it doesn't look right is because it's a very tight screen. They're not throwing it over the middle. They're almost throwing the screen off tackle. And I think one of the reasons they're doing it is because they don't want to keep the ball in the air too long by throwing that screen to the sideline because of Miami's speed. But a lot of people are getting bunched up in the middle, and it's not working. He comes. Maurice Crum is the one that breaks free, and Covey doesn't have a chance. When they blitz, they come. Everybody. Watch how many people are coming. They have 3 guys blocking the tackle on the right, and they get him, but nobody picks up Crum. Very uncharacteristic of BYU, a passing team, not to pick up the blitz.
And Bellini tried, but too late. On 3rd and 22, a great catch momentarily by Bryce Doman. But as he hit the ground and knocked it out of his hands, Doman, a freshman out of Salt Lake City, and he had enough yardage for the first down.
Nice job by Covey. A little bit nervous feet. This is as close as BYU's going to get. Right between the 2 coverage guys. Doman hits the ground and can't cover it, but a nice throw by Covey.
Boy, this will be a big kick for Pat Thompson, the All-American, because Miami will have good field position right here. He hits it to Darrell Spencer at the 41. Gets away from 2 tacklers. Down the middle, inside the 35. He took a hard hit on the leg as he got spun around, but a big return by Darrell Spencer, whose longest is 43 against Missouri.
According to the book, we got 3 minutes. Tonight, we're going to beat the book. Let's move out.
In today's field artillery, the emphasis is on training and motivation, because a high-tech system like this Army rocket launcher is only as good as the people who run it.
We're here. All that you can be. Arm rockets, fire. Did we beat the book, Sergeant? We rewrote the book.
Get an edge on life in the Army.
The basic idea behind the Volvo 740 Turbo Wagon.
Is attracting everyone's attention. Gold Star. After all, when you pay attention to what people want, people pay attention to you. Gold Star, the brightest star in electronics.
First rule of punt coverage, stay in your lanes. Number 25 and 65, Simtiatia, Devin Coggins of BYU get bunched up shoulder to shoulder together. And that's not good. As you can see, it allows the ball carrier to take off down the field and pick up big yards. You have to keep some space between you so he has nowhere to go.
Good kick, 44 yards, but 25 on the return. Hurricane speedster. He runs a 4.3740. That one covered 33 yards, and Jimmy Johnson's team is up by 17. Carlos Huerta for the point after. And with 10:14 left before halftime, it's 21-3. Kevin Kiley, he really turned it on after Steve Walsh got it to him.
He did. They call him Thrill Hill, and this was thrilling. Leonard Conley right there, 28. They should have called a penalty on him. He's blocking right there on Mitchell. Earlier, he screened the defender, kept him from getting to the zone. Should have been offensive interference. Hill gave us a thrill.
So Miami has now taken control of this game.
In 1908, Henry Ford said, "You can have any color Ford you want, as long as it's black." In 1988, you can have the best price on any Ford you want as long as it's from Galen Black Ford. As Central Florida's fastest growing Ford dealership, we're committed to giving you the best bargains possible. While other dealers have been using questionable advertising to trap you, one dealer is known for offering legitimate bargains on all their cars. Galen Black Ford. We say what we mean what we say.
14 remaining before halftime, and Miami has turned things on offensively. Steve Walsh has tied a Miami record, and the Hurricanes lead it 21-3. Edgar Bennis to kick it off to Tony Crutchfield or Stacy Corley. Crutchfield inside his 5. And good play on the special teams by the Hurricanes. And a look back at the touchdown, Kevin.
Under the arrow, Leonard Conley screening the defender while the ball was in the air. That made the play. You can see Randall Hill. Peterson never could get there after it was the equivalent of a block while the ball was in the air. Randall Hill gets free down the sideline, giving assist to Leonard Conley and the official.
And Steve Walsh has now equaled Vinny Testaverde's 48 career touchdown passes. It comes in Walsh's 22nd game started. It's also his record 29th of this 88 season. BYU on the ground with the fullback, Fred Whittingham. Whittingham played on that national championship team of 84. We haven't mentioned this, but as followers of BYU know, a lot of these players will play a year or two in Provo, go on their missions for the Mormon Church, come back. Their average age is a lot higher than any college football team, and you'll see some guys that have been played in 83, 84, and 85 back and still playing in 88. On 2nd and 7, it's off the hands of Mike Salido. Kevin, I think we're seeing the Miami cornerbacks do exactly what they wanted to do when we talked to their defensive coaches yesterday. Dave Wanstead, the coordinator, told us that his cornerbacks will be pressuring and hitting BYU wide receivers at the line of scrimmage all night long.
Well, they wanted to take the wide receivers out of the game. Early on, they were doing it, but BYU was still moving the ball. But when Miami scores so quickly, they put tremendous psychological pressure on your offense. You need to make good plays. You can't miss catches and drop balls. And that's what's going on.
and 2 interceptions.
Flagship of the Hilton chain.
Well, Covey does first the good thing by getting away from the rush, and then this never should have been thrown. I think it was intended either for the tight end or the crossing receiver. Harden just sitting out there playing safety. Covey floated up again. That speed of Miami, if you float it, the longer the ball is in the air, the better chance Miami has of getting it. Not BYU, because Miami is quicker.
Miami Hurricanes now with 14 interceptions on the year. 2 of them here tonight, and now the route could be on if they take it in from here. They're at the 27, leading 21-3. We're only less than 6 minutes into the second quarter. Walsh wants a touchdown, and it's just beyond the reach of Dale Dawkins. Coverage on the play from free safety Scott Peterson. Dawkins, a rangy junior. He's 6'1", 194. A little bit taller than Randall Hill, not with his speed. But Jimmy Johnson, who lost some great receivers last year, Michael Irvin, who went to Dallas, Brian Blades to the Seahawks, and Brett Perryman to New Orleans, has replaced them, as has Steve Walsh, with some pretty good performers. Down near the 20-yard line. It'll be 3rd and about 3 as Crowell, a 5'11" sophomore out of Atlanta, carries the football.
Well, the rest of college football will be glad to hear that Jimmy says he'll probably have his best team ever next year.
Yeah, right.
Fighting for the national title this year. You can tell LaBelle's glad to hear. He looks like he heard me from the look on his face. And also, Lavelle will have a fine team. He says BYU is on their way back up. They have good young talent. These 2 teams meet again in '90 in Provo.
Season opener that year. 3rd and 3. Walsh down the middle, post pattern, and no. Looking right up over the top was Andre Brown, right by the goal post. And Brian Mitchell on the defense. A flag back at the 30-yard line, but it's against Miami anyway.
You want penalties? We have penalties. Chad Robinson didn't get called. He was holding with both hands on a receiver. And then you have this call, which is going to go against Miami. That was the first flag, and they never threw the one on Robinson. Another one.
Eric Ferguson on Randall Hill. Carlos Huerta is on. The freshman who was the walk-on, cut a year ago, walked back on this year and made the team. He is 19 of 24. This will be a 37-yard attempt. So he is an 80% field goal kicker. Huerta, no problem at all. And with 8:17 remaining before halftime, Miami gets 3 and leads 24-3. And Carlos Huerta now has the scoring record. Not a bad walk-on.
Well, Carlos proved one thing. Keep walking. Uh-oh. It's going to be one of those, huh?
Yep, a lot of push-ups for the mascot tonight. Well, Lavelle Edwards has a great tradition of quarterbacks at BYU. Growing up in Provo, Sean Covey was well aware of BYU's tradition. We asked him if he feels the pressure.
Yes, you do feel a little bit of pressure because there's such a great tradition of quarterbacks at BYU. But at the same time, I never like to compare myself because, you know, each year is completely different. And the only real measure I try to, see how I'm doing by is victories. That's the important thing to me, not your statistics, but how many games you're winning.
Well, and so far, Sean Covey, a junior, does have a 12-4 record as a starting quarterback at Brigham Young University. Tony Crutchfield on another kickoff return. He is loose out over the 25. And finally, Charles Farms on special teams wrapped him up to make the stop. Let's talk a little bit of that BYU tradition. It goes all the way back to the mid-60s with Virgil Carter. Then the familiar names of Nielsen, Wilson, McMahon, Young, and Bosco. Sean Covey not in their neighborhood yet, Kevin, but he has a chance.
I played with Virgil in the World Football League.
The World Football
League. He was a great passing quarterback, but we were running the triple option by then, and Virgil wasn't laughing.
Up in Chicago, eh?
In Chicago. Virgil quarterback one game with a broken hand. It was his throwing hand.
And to look at Matt Odell, the sophomore whose father, Phil, was the all-time BYU reception leader. Matt caught his first pass of the year earlier tonight. A procedure call against Miami, and BYU will start inside its own 30-yard line. This is where the Cougars, with Covey on the sidelines and Ty Detmer, the freshman quarterback, in there, number 14, need to mount a drive. Detmer was recruited by Miami and others, including Michigan, UCLA, and others, and he was an All-American at Southwest High School in San Antonio, a former Texas Player of the Year. Oklahoma was also after him. He is your basic drop-back passing quarterback. Little play action out to the left side for Chuck Cutler. He'll gain about 9. Cutler's had a quiet evening so far. Chuck, an all-WAC performer, has caught 1,000 yards in passes now. His reception total up well over 60. He's caught for 10 touchdowns. All the stars tell you that he is the #1 Cougar receiver. That's his first catch of the night.
Tough kid. A couple of years ago, he had broken bones in both hands and was playing. He's a receiver. He's out there catching the ball with 2 broken hands.
There's the Bellini running up the middle. Matt Bellini got the give. There's a flag back at the line of scrimmage. A 13-yard gain for speedy Matt Bellini, as the defense was offside, and Miami will retreat as BYU moves the chains.
Russell Maryland, number 67. Watch him. Now watch him get, there's your offsides. Now watch Maryland getting shoved in and pushed over there by Brian White. A nice block on Maryland by Brian White, and Bellini able to get big yardage to midfield.
Here's Bellini again. Rod Carter trying to strip the ball out of his hands. Matt Bellini, of course, had an older brother, Mark. Many of you may have heard of him. He was an All-American wide receiver at BYU. Went on to the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Bellini is a very good speedster, a former wide receiver. They moved into running back, but really in that halfback position, Kevin, he's almost as like a receiver and a running back.
He's a slot back. He's not really the classic running back.
Looked like Russell Maryland jumping a bit that time. There is a flag laying near the line of scrimmage. Rod Carter on the stop there. And it was 67 left tackle Russell Maryland encroaching that time. Down to the sideline. Here's Chris Fowler.
Okay, Bob, an update on the injury to Rodney Rice, the BYU cornerback. Doctors say he has broken both bones in his left forearm. They have him in a cast. They say he will not be able to return for the Freedom Bowl game against Colorado in December. Bad news.
Boy, that is a shame for Rodney Rice, who has had such a fine career at BYU. So the senior out of Atwater, California, is through as a Cougar with 12 career interceptions. Chuck Cutler and Matt Odell are wide to the right. Give it to the deep man. And that again is Matt Bellini. Jimmy Jones, right tackle, 63 on the stop. Justin Piling for the Hurricanes. Clock is under 6 minutes, second quarter.
White and Muhammad El-Wanibi making the blocks on the right side. Maryland is gone. Bellini doesn't look like a wide receiver there, does he, Bobby? Putting his head down. 6 foot, 195-pound sophomore getting the first down. Good blocking on the offensive line.
BYU got a drive going here. Draw play, Mike Salido twisting his way down to the 30 of Miami. That's great yardage on first down. Robert Bailey, who backs up Charles Forms at free safety, has to pull down number 22, who's made a couple of nice plays here tonight.
The Hurricanes now basically thinking pass. Time running out. BYU down by a bunch of points, 21 points. Thinking pass, and BYU's offense, as always, does what you don't expect them to do, so they're taking advantage and running the ball.
Throws it into the back of Whittingham. He knew he was going to lose about 4 or 5 yards, which would take away his 3rd and short, and a pretty smart play there, as evidently he tripped over the foot of Phil Nawahi, the center. Kevin, this is a pretty quick decision and a pretty smart play.
And a good call by the official. There wasn't much space between Detmer's behind and the ground when he let that ball go. For a freshman, that's excellent. Very smart. Of course, if it hit Whittingham's back and bounced up in the air, it wouldn't have looked so good.
So now they preserve the 3rd and short. A deep drop, and he rifles it, intercepted. Another one for Bobby Harden. His 3rd of the night.
Salido on the drag pattern. He never did see him as he was rolling out. Number 22 just left in the right corner of your screen. See him up there? Now he's wide open, holding up his hand. Detmer instead tries to go to a receiver that he can't possibly get the ball to, and Harden is there to make the reception or the interception.
So a big night for the junior out of Fort Lauderdale, Bobby Harden. 1 interception through 10 games and 3 here tonight. Was going to be intercepted, and suddenly Bethel got tall in a hurry. He's 6'3", 240, and he pulled it down.
Well, here's a chance for Scott Peterson, number 5. Look at the position that he has on Bethel here. Bethel makes a tremendous catch, tremendous concentration. Peterson, 225 pounds, had a chance to come across him and knock that ball loose, and he chose to go for that one shoulder.
26 yards on the pass. Walsh with time, hit as he releases, and trying to come back to it was Andre Brown. He lost his footing on the natural turf here at the Orange Bowl. So the clock stops with 4:06 remaining in the second quarter. BYU's defense desperately trying to keep Miami from scoring, trying to keep this a 3-touchdown game at 24-3. Steve Walsh is 10 for 17 for 156 yards and a record-tying touchdown. This is Alex Johnson. He spells Leonard Connolly at halfback. Johnson, a 5'9" sophomore. Mark Smith at nose guard, in on the tackle. Dwayne Johnson helping out from outside backer.
Dwayne Johnson, number 54. Chudzinski trying to block him. He keeps the outside leverage and then steps inside for a face-up tackle. That's excellent outside linebacker play. Remember again that BYU's defense has just been hammered injury-wise. They don't have any of their, or not a lot of their top people are missing. And that has to hurt them. Certainly hurts their continuity.
Walsh with time down the middle. There's the tight end again. Check it, it's the flanker Andre Brown, 83, not 93, Randy Bethel. Andre Brown is having a big night here so far this evening. He's caught 8 touchdown passes on the year. He's now nabbed for 93 yards here this evening.
BYU was going to give them the short delay patterns over the middle, the crossing patterns. They felt if they could keep Miami underneath them, give them some yardage, but not give up the big play, that they would be able to control them. A pass to Randall Hill, of course, messed up that particular philosophy.
The significance of that sideline shot was that 24 Tony Crutchfield was leaving the nickel back on third down situation. Alex Johnson still fighting down near the 25-yard line. Dwayne Johnson wrapped up Alex with help from Bob Davis. Clock continues to run with 2:50 remaining in the first half. Miami with a drive here that could not only give Jimmy Johnson's team a big lead, but could also really send the Cougars into the locker room sucking air. They've been on the field for a while, and they've been putting up with some punishment on this drive. Out to the left side, Shannon Crowell. He'll get a couple of yards as Scott Peterson, the free safety, number 5, knocked him out. Crowell so concerned with getting the ball and keeping balance, he never could get much yardage on the play. Miami 9-1. BYU, playing its 12th game of the year, is 8-3. Nebraska head coach Tom Osborne scouting the Hurricanes for the big Orange Bowl game coming up. Will be with us at halftime. We'll also check out the Heisman situation. And Tim Brando updates you on the world of college football. Hits the helmet of Eric Ferguson. Randall Hill, the intended receiver. Ferguson here appeared to have the ball hit him right between the wires on the top of his white helmet.
They're booing because they didn't get a penalty, but it looked to me like Randall Hill went after Ferguson a little early. Here's Ferguson, arm, and they're both pushing, and Hill grabbed him by the ear holes there and pulled him out of bounds.
Carlos Huerta again. This will be a 41-yard attempt from the left hash mark. Hey, if we're programmed to need a walk-on guy like this, Carlos Huerta 2 for 2 on the night, 21 for 26 on the year, and Miami extends the lead to 27-3 with 2:17 left in the first half. The student athlete of the game is brought to you by the U.S. Army. Get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And tonight's recipient, BYU split end Chuck Cutler. Chuck, a 3.5 grade point in business administration, and is looking to be named first-team academic All-American for the second consecutive year. Miami looking for a 10-1 record heading into that Orange Bowl against Nebraska. Jimmy Johnson's team. There's Lavelle Edwards, who is trying to go 9-3, may have to settle for 8-4 on to the Freedom Bowl. But what a string of seasons by Jimmy Johnson. His last 2 regular seasons have been 11-0. This one, barring disaster, looks to be 10-1 with a 1-point loss at the home of the #1 team in the nation. Edgar Bennis will kick it off for the Hurricanes. Tony Crutchfield at his 4. Right there to meet him was Miami's Doyle Aaron, a wide receiver, seeing action on special teams. Hey, how about the last 5 years? Miami better than Nebraska. BYU is 5th. The familiar Sooners and Auburn in there, of course. In the 80s, Nebraska overall a bit ahead of Miami. But the last 5 years, the Canes have been the best.
I think a lot of people would be surprised to see Auburn in there, but those that know college football wouldn't. And most fans don't realize what a great job Pat Dye has done down there in the Southeast Conference.
and their own little tackle dance.
This guy was drafted by the Chicago White Sox, number 49 in baseball, 14th round. He'd rather play football, and that's why. He said if they gave him $40,000, he would have gone. They offered him only $35,000, so he stayed.
There aren't many 14th round picks getting 40 grand. Detmer is sacked by Russell Maryland. Third sack of the night by the Miami defense. Russell Maryland, a 6'2 sophomore who goes 272. What a find out of Chicago for Jimmy Johnson and his staff. And a timeout called by the Hurricanes. 1:21 second quarter. Miami 27-3. Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, based up the coast in Pompano Beach, Florida. Tonight's captain is Dick Esch, who hails from Sunrise, Florida. Those are some of the gorgeous shots we get from overhead from the Goodyear Blimp. Things don't look too gorgeous for the Cougars on 3rd and 17 inside their 10. And what a catch, Bryce Doman. First down out to the 42-yard line, a 32-yard gain, and what a throw.
Tremendous job by the offensive line. Detmer needed all day to throw this ball, and that's what he got from the offensive line, picking up everybody. You can see Maryland never even got close. Detmer got his lunch after he threw it, but look at this throw. Doman, tremendous concentration and out of bounds. First down.
Charles Farms, number 2, the last man to have a shot at it, got there an instant too late. Greg Mark pressuring the quarterback, and Detmer hits Bryce Doman again. Doman, a 6'1 freshman from Salt Lake City. They like him because of his speed. Jeff Franson is the starter over there, but the coaches have not been very pleased with the junior lately, so Doman and freshman Tyler Anderson getting some playing time. Intercepted, Donnie Ellis, and he might go. Picked off for the 8th time this year. Donnie Ellis with his 2nd of the season, his first for a score, and Miami leads by 30. Guess who? Carlos Huerta again. He's 4 for 4, 2 for 2 in field goals, and with 35 seconds left in the second half, the route is on.
Well, if you look at Detmer's head from the time he took the snap, and that thing just hung up there, a wobbly pass. He never looked off the receiver, and Ellis, guy that broke his leg in the opener last year against Florida State, could he come back and run 4.5? Yes, he can, and yes, he does.
For a 64-yard interception return for a touchdown. And with Donald Ellis putting that one away, Miami has outscored BYU 27-0 in the second quarter. Yeah, back in the first quarter, BYU had a chance to take the lead. First and goal after a block punt inside the Miami 10, trailing 7-3. They got no points, and they have paid dearly.
Well, I think the one thing you really can't, when you play the schedule BYU does, which does not normally include a Miami, you can't really judge the speed and the talent of these guys till you get out here with them.
For the first time tonight, Edgar Bennis puts one into the end zone. Tony Crutchfield will not return it. So with 35 seconds left in the first half, BYU trailing 34-3. They may just run this series out and get to the locker room.
kind of reminds me of the comparison they make to the Oklahoma wishbone. When you talk to coaches, as we do before games, and they're going to play Oklahoma, they say, well, we're good against the option in practice, but we can't duplicate the speed and the precision of the Oklahoma wishbone. I think the same is true of the Miami team, both defensively and offensively. Until you get out against the Hurricanes, you don't really know what they're about.
Denver will come out throwing. Little short one up the middle to Fred Whittingham, the fullback. By the way, a footnote on the Miami defense tonight with those 4 interceptions. Number 39, Bobby Harden, of course, as we mentioned, has 3 of those pickoffs tonight. Bobby Harden has tied a Miami record held by 9 other players with 3 interceptions in a single ballgame. Detmer left side for Whittingham, and the official marks it far enough for the first down, just over the 30-yard line. Randy Shannon at linebacker, the stop. Hey, Kev, what was the turning point of this one tonight?
Well, we had it earlier. It was a game. Mitchell came in and blocked this punt. BYU had a shot at the end zone, but watch the punter, number 19, Tim Kalau for Miami. He is the only player with a chance to make this tackle. He does. Inside the 10, Miami's defense held no points, and from there it's been downhill for BYU, and it shows you never quit. Even though you get a blocked punt, you got to get up and chase the man with the ball.
BYU could have taken a 9-3 and a 10-3 lead there with the extra point, but instead they haven't scored since and now suffer a 34-3 deficit. September 1st, 1984 was ESPN's first CFA primetime telecast. The Hurricanes and Florida Gators supplied the dramatics. 47 seconds left. First down and goal to go from the 5. Kerwin Bell looking good. He's got a man. Neal comes on. He's going to go in the end zone. And back in the end zone is Eddie Brown. That's the touchdown. Ernie Kosar, one of Jimmy Johnson's great quarterbacks here. Howard Schnellenberger, of course, developed some of that earlier talent. And tonight, of course, we conclude our 5th year of CFA football. We're proud of that and happy to be back next year as ESPN kicks off its 6th season of CFA college football. Last play of the first half, and it's a sack for Greg Mark. Behind the line of scrimmage, getting Ty Detmer, Miami's 4th sack. So they get 4 quarterback sacks.
I'm strapping them on right now.
We're getting ready for the second half here as Miami will kick it off. Carlos Huerta has kicked a couple of field goals, but he does not handle the kickoffs. Edgar Benessa Jr. does. He's number 1. 34-3, Miami over BYU. And this one is rifled into the end zone. A yard deep, and Tony Crutchfield will bring it out, and he won't bring it out far. Wrapped up by Charles Farnes, that freshman safety, seeing action on the special teams.
Okay, Bob, here, of course, with Jimmy Johnson. Coach, your players realize that not just a victory, but a convincing victory gives you more ammunition for the pollsters.
Oh, yeah, we're not concerned about convincing victory. We're not concerned about pollsters. All we want to do is go out there and play well. It's important for our football team to play well every time they walk on the field, regardless of the situation, regardless of the score.
Okay, thanks very much, Bob.
Chris Fowler moments ago with Jimmy Johnson, and now the Cougars have to get that drive started here in the 3rd quarter. Ty Detmer, the freshman, is the quarterback, and he hits number 19, Matt Odell, on a slant in, and Odell has his 2nd catch of the night. Let's talk about statistics in the first half of play. Each team with 12 completions, Miami with more yards, also more rushing and more total yards. But BYU ran more plays and had the ball more, Kevin.
Yeah, but the thing that doesn't show in the statistics is the trouble that Brigham Young had close in the red zone, getting into the end zone. Cost them the game, probably.
Detmer with a draw play to Mike Salito. And he is wrapped up by Greg Mark. Mark out of New Jersey has come south and has established himself already as an outstanding defensive end in his junior year. Used to play a little tackle, likes defensive end because he doesn't have to take the punishment that he did at the other position. Also played some outside linebacker, and now it'll be 3rd and 4. Fred Whittingham fighting his way to a first down. Maurice Crum, the weak side linebacker, riding him, but unable to stop him. And Whittingham again showing his versatility as a fullback who can catch the ball.
Maurice Crum on the blitz gets picked up. That's what BYU does so extremely well. And allows Detmer to get the ball off, complete the pass. Now BYU classically does a tremendous job picking up the blitz. They had some problems in the first half. Started off well here in the second half.
Whittingham, 6 catches for 37 yards. Detmer hitting Odell on a slant. So the short passing game of BYU is coming to the forefront after a very mysterious first half when they punted after 3 plays, went 8 plays to a field goal, and then after the big turnover could not hit the field goal, then suffered interceptions galore. 4 of them total in the first half, and Miami moved out to a 34-3 lead.
That field position late in the first quarter was the difference in the game. They couldn't convert.
That run is intercepted. Is he in bounds? Yes, sir. Bubba McDowell. At least the initial call says he was. The receiver appeared to be running a pattern out of bounds. Now they're going to bring it back. The officials evidently have overruled the initial call, and he has been ruled out of bounds, has Bubba McDowell.
Looks like a ballet dancer here. Detmer again probably shouldn't have thrown this ball. Bubba's the only one who can get it. If the inside foot had come down first, he would have been in bounds, but it was the outside foot. Nice play, though.
Axelito and Matt Bellini, the backs, on 3rd and short. They will split as Detmer throws. Wobbly into the ground. Intended for Solito. Randy Shannon on the coverage. And BYU facing 2nd and short. Unable to convert 2nd or 3rd down. And the head coach obviously very unhappy.
I think that ball was tipped, Bob.
Had the trajectory to indicate it was. Thompson will kick it to Darrell Spencer. Fair catch signal. The ball bounces into the end zone. Good pressure on the kick, but he got it away. Miami had good pressure on the kick by Robert Bailey. And a flag on the play.
That ball was 65 yards in the air.
That's why he's an All-American.
What a punt.
Yeah, they say the rolls aren't what get him his average of 44.7. That is through the air.
And not in the altitude either. Usually those mountain kickers, they get some help from the altitude.
Holding on the receiving team. Post-scrimmage enforcement. The first down.
Let's check the Miami first half possessions. Their defense did a lot for them late. Their initial drive went 8 plays for a touchdown. Cleveland Gary scored negative yardage and a kick twice in a row there. Then they got a few yards and kicked it. And then a dozen plays for a touchdown by Cleveland Gary again. And then another TD, the field goal, and the field goal. So a real rush of points late for the Hurricanes.
But you can see again, late in that first quarter, you can see those negative yardage, and that was where BYU was controlling the game but couldn't score points.
Back at the 10-yard line on first down, Leonard Conley, the sophomore halfback out of Tarpon Springs over on the west coast of Florida, is the carrier. Dwayne Johnson, outside linebacker, a man who makes the stop. Jimmy Johnson, 80 career wins now at Oklahoma State and at Miami against 34 losses and 2 ties. 50-9 at Miami. Dawkins on the reception out near the 20-yard line. Very close to a first down as Reagan Henson, inside backer, made the stop. You know, Kevin, there are a couple of things about Jimmy Johnson that people don't always talk about too much. His initial head coaching job at Oklahoma State was on the heels of a program that was on probation. He cleaned things up at OSU, got them back to prominence, took them to a couple of bowl games. And even before that, Jimmy Johnson's background at Pittsburgh and other places was defense.
Well, he was a defensive coordinator, and people don't realize how strong the coaching staff is here in Miami. They have 2 of the most excellent coordinators in the country. Gary Stevens, the offensive coordinator, is considered maybe the best in the country. And Dave Wanstead, the defensive coordinator, very, very well respected.
His arrival a couple of years ago coincided with Miami getting into the top 10 in the nation in offensive and defensive categories.
Well, defensively, they have proved every single year since Wanstead has been here until finally this year, I believe they're second against the rush and the pass nationally.
Out to the right side for Cleveland Gary. Pretty good coverage by Bob Davis and by Troy Long. Here's the defense for Miami. Dave Wanstead showed up in '86, and look how they came way up in the rankings.
He's done a tremendous job. And sometimes when you talk about Walsh and quarterback U in Miami and how many points they score, you forget that defensively they can dominate. Last week against Arkansas in the 4th quarter with the game on the line, the defense held Arkansas to minus 16 yards total offense in the 4th quarter.
Completes it to Rob Chudzinski, the tight end, a sophomore out of Toledo, formerly a starter, backing up Randy Bethel at the moment, makes a fine catch in traffic.
Chudzinski with the big catch, but Walsh, this is absolute dominance by the offensive line. And a little help by Conley there with a block, and Walsh threads the needle at the end. Chudzinski makes a tremendous catch. Why is Miami so tough? They have the great quarterback. They do a super job with the tight end. And he's also very accurate.
Steve Walsh put it right in there despite good coverage by Tony Crutchfield, who was all over Rob Chudzinski. You know, just another footnote on the Hurricanes defensively. Ask Oklahoma if they can play defense. They've stopped the Sooners' wishbone several times.
Pass interference on the defense. First down.
And to stop Oklahoma, Tom Osborne used some Miami wrinkles on his defense a couple of weeks ago in Norman and beating the Sooners 7-3 to go to the Orange Bowl.
Forget about the pass is the basic key to beating Oklahoma and stop that running game. And you need the athletes, too. You have to have tremendous speed. Miami has always had that defensively.
Makes and play action all over the place, and it's picked off by Scott Peterson. Down the far sideline and out of bounds inside the 30-yard line of Miami as BYU gets the turnover it's looking for. A 25-yard return by Peterson, who gets his 4th interception of the year.
BYU takes a page out of the Miami book. Peterson just waiting on Walsh. 225-pound safety steps in front of Chudzinski, and then see who makes the tackle. With his shoulder, that was Walsh, not his throwing shoulder. Scott Peterson, Chapter, California.
Hurricanes are coming, and on the draw play, it is Jimmy Jones grabbing Mike Salido. Orange jerseys all over the line of scrimmage, and face mask and all. Jimmy Jones made the tackle.
34-3, not much to worry about. Miami is coming. You see Marks number 94 here, and Jones and Hawkins, they were all coming. If that's going to be a draw play, it needs to be quicker than that because Miami is so quick into the backfield.
there by Bernard Clark, who backs up Rod Carter at middle linebacker. Clark, number 57. And so BYU, after the turnover, on the move. The ball will be down to the 27-yard line. But it'll be 3rd and long. Detmer had to get rid of that ball because Bill Hawkins was running a straight line toward him.
Under no circumstances can I understand how anyone could throw this pass. I mean, he's getting pressure from Hawkins, but to loft it to the post. Throw it away, but don't throw it like that down the middle of the field. He threw a balloon right to the center of the defense. Fortunately, there wasn't anyone there, including BYU receivers.
It's 4-down territory for BYU on 4th and 10. End zone, touchdown, Matt Bellini. He fought off Bobby Harden. There is a flag lying a yard deep in the end zone.
It's going to be
a 27-yard completion. Yeah, probably defensive pass interference. What a catch by Matt Bellini.
Pass interference on the defense. Touchdown, penalized on the kickoff.
Bellini, tremendous talent, not great speed. He never beats Harden. Harden is on him from the start. And this is tremendous coverage, but Harden makes a mistake. He does everything but take his shoes off. And Bellini, with all that concentration, the pass is there, and he catches it in the chest. That's just tough receiving.
Jason Chaffetz pulling it to the left, but getting it in there. He is 35 of 37 with points after. BYU on the board, but still down by 24. College football on ESPN, brought to you by Jeep. There's a feeling you can get only in a Jeep. By Bud Light, everything else is just delight. And by Stanley Works. Stanley helps you do things right. Welcome back to the Orange Bowl in Miami. Our view toward downtown and now a bit to the west to this old and traditional ballpark where it's now 34-10 Miami over BYU. The pass interference assessed on the kickoff, and BYU's Earl Kaufman, not Jason Chaffetz, who kicked the point after, just goes right ahead and kicks the ball into the end zone.
This is BYU offense all the way. Detmer looking for Bellini. He's going to throw it up and let Bellini go after the ball. Now, you can see Harden tripping, grabbing Bellini, and Bellini able to catch it anyway.
So after the turnover, 4 plays took a minute and a half, covering 27 yards for the score. Steve Walsh gives it to Leonard Conley, and he gets 9 on first down. Bob Davis, the linebacker. You know, kind of unusual, Kevin, to see a guy who already has 3 interceptions on the night not even look for the ball on that touchdown as we watch the first down play here.
Well, it was Davis just going the wrong way on the play action and then trying to cover up. BYU again with that lack of speed. They can't afford a false step. They say anticipation on defense is worth about 0.5 of a second in speed. If you know where they're going, you can get there quicker. You don't have to do that.
On 2nd and 1, a rather easy first down for Leonard Conley. A small but strong back who goes 5'9", 170. He fumbled the ball a little bit early in the season, but lately he's been a solid player. When you look at Miami, the one negative they've had to put up with through the season has been turnovers. Probably kept them from winning big against Arkansas a week ago, and certainly contributed to the loss at Notre Dame.
Well, remember how young they were early in the season. A lot of these guys are playing their first year.
Walsh on first down, out to the left side for Dale Dawkins. Eric Ferguson at right corner, closing on him. Dawkins, the first wide receiver into the ball game on either side, backing up Randall Hill or Andre Brown. A gain of 4 on first down as the Canes move the ball and the clock. As we approach 6:40 remaining in the third quarter of play, Miami on top by 24. Out to the right side, there is Andre Brown. Tackled high by Brian Mitchell. The crowd didn't like it. Andre Brown didn't seem to mind. And Miami moves the chains once more. Well, we're getting some beautiful shots of the Orange Bowl tonight from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, based in Pompano Beach, right up the coast. Captain Dick Esch at the controls. How about that shot? Nice to have you guys with us tonight.
What a reaction by Walsh, as Pete Harrison was right in his face and gave him a shot on that last play.
There's the deep pitch to Leonard Conley, and hello, says Troy Long, the strong safety. Troy Long, as a junior last year, was an honorable mention All-American, a first-team All-WAC performer. He was the leading tackler for BYU, and as we mentioned earlier, he has 12 career interceptions.
But here he's playing run support, and watch him play off the block. Number 21 comes into your screen, playing off the block of Cleveland Gary and still making the tackle. Now, really, his only responsibility is to turn that in, and yet he did it both.
And whistles blow as Walsh took a deep drop. Not sure Miami got that play off in time.
Dead ball. False start on the offense. Yeah, second down.
They did get it off in time, but in the wrong fashion, and so they'll just move it back some.
Because most every time that Miami has not had success on first down, they've had great difficulty. First down has been very important to them. BYU's success defensively has been tied to their first down play.
Miami 5 penalties tonight for 45 yards. On him. Well short on 3rd and 18.
Gonna get roughing the passer.
2nd and 18, excuse me. A flag is laying back at the 29.
Gonna be on Bud Orr.
Roughing the passer on the defense. 15 yards, first down.
It's a shake-your-head night for Lavelle Edwards, whose team had a chance to be right in the ball game and even have the lead early. Wasted a big opportunity in the first quarter. Sean Covey, number 10, the starting quarterback, is out of the game. Edwards going with his freshman. Right now, trying to get it done defensively. Kevin, we talked earlier about the few number of sacks given up by this Miami offense. We touched on it at LSU a couple of weeks ago. They're not big, the offensive line of Miami, but what makes them so good in that department?
Well, because they set, well, it's a combination. It's the offensive line, but it's also Steve Walsh's uncanny ability to get rid of the ball and avoid a sack. He has that quality where he can feel the rush, but the line sets very quickly on the line of scrimmage, which is a little odd. A lot of lines will give ground. This line doesn't, and have tremendous technique.
Walsh looking for long ones on 1st and 10, and it's over top of Andre Brown. Walsh trying to inch Andre Brown closer to that receiving record of 11 TDs in a season. Brown has 8.
Well, here's a look at that offensive line. Watch how quickly they set, and then they pick up the blitz. They get everybody, give Walsh time. Now, this play takes a split second. Walsh lays it very high, trying to let the receiver run under it. Still a little bit long, but they're so well drilled. And, of course, it goes back to Jimmy Johnson, Gary Stevens, the offensive coordinator. What a great job they do, both of them.
Here's the give to Cleveland Gary. And riding him down was Reagan Hansen from inside linebacker. To the studio, here's Tim Brando.
All right, Bob, it's time for our Panasonic video replay. It's the first drive for Pitt against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. This was the story not only today, but all season for Mike Gottfried. It's fumbled, recovered by George Rooks, and Syracuse would go on to win it 24-7. But watch out for Mike Gottfried's team a year from now. And how might have this season changed had not another fumble occurred, one by Darnell Dickerson against Notre Dame, guys.
Good point, Timmy. On 3rd down and 8, it's a little too far for Andre Brown. Walsh on his back. Bob Davis was in the backfield of Miami. And Andre Brown just had a couple on that drive, a little too far to grab. Ryan Mitchell on the coverage with the nickel back, Tony Crutchfield. It'll be 4th down for Miami, and this would be an awfully long field goal to try, but Huerta is on, and he's looking for one from about 57 yards. It's a crosswind here at the Orange Bowl. Straight enough, but a little bit short. So with 3:38 remaining in the 3rd quarter, it's still Miami 34, BYU 10. Defensive line, there's their coach, Tony Wise, who was with Jimmy Johnson at Pittsburgh and at Oklahoma State. They're always doing a great job for quarterback Steve Walsh. He credited them as much as anyone with his high voting in the Heisman, but he didn't win it. Barry Sanders did, and now it's BYU with the football at the 40. Miami leads it 34-10. Detmer with a quick look into Matt Bellini. He dances his way inside the 35 of the Hurricanes with Bubba McDowell holding on. A 30-yard gain on 1st down.
There's 2 things you need to make this work. You need an accurate pass and a guy with a lot of nerve. And that's Bellini catching that ball in the middle of a bunch of linebackers. He's probably saying to himself, if only I could run a little faster.
Yeah.
Fast enough.
About a 3.240 maybe.
Yeah, he's not running away from those guys.
No, sir. 3:10 left, 3rd quarter. As they work the draw to Mike Salido, and hello, says Randy Shannon, with help from Russell Maryland. Numbers 22. Jimmy Jones, 63, also in there.
A 1-yard gain on that play.
Fred Whittingham will check back in as Mike Salido leaves, so they flip-flop fullbacks, does BYU.
29.
First time the teams have ever met. They'll meet again at the opener in Provo, September 8th of 1990. There's Whittingham. Little late help there from Randy Shannon after the initial stop was made by Donald Ellis to the sidelines. Here's Chris Fowler.
Okay, Bob, not the sidelines, but underneath the end zone, outside the locker room, that the Big 8 champions call home once a year. Now, that'd be the Huskers coming out of here on January 2nd. Remember, the last time they played in this game was 1984. They lost to Miami 31-30 in that classic game with the failed 2-point conversion as Howard Schnellenberger and Bernie Kosar won the national championship. Back up to Bob and Kevin.
Our halftime guest, Tom Osborne, did not go for the tying field goal that night, which might have been a national championship. Down the field, Chuck Cutler. Near the 10, Bobby Harden knocks him down, and BYU is on the move through the air.
You're going to have quarterbacks that don't have rocket arms and receivers that can't run. The quarterback better be accurate, and the receiver better be ready to take a hit. Look at that. What a catch by Cutler and a good hit by Harden. But BYU closing in.
Across the line of scrimmage. Number 54 came flying in from the right side, but was he drawn offside? By the way, this is a 1st and goal from the 10. BYU cannot get a 1st down without scoring.
Offside on the defense.
That'll make it a little bit easier on 1st and goal.
Well, this has been the problem for BYU tonight. we'd have a ball game had they scored on a couple of these in the end of the first quarter.
Well, a couple of explosive teams getting together. A rout can turn into a ball game in a hurry. So it'll be first and goal now at the 5. Whittingham will leave. Solido will check in at fullback, evidently bringing in a play from offensive coordinator Roger French.
Solido is also a little bit quicker than Whittingham.
Bellini is out to the left with Matt Odle. Ty Detmer hit right as he threw it. Maurice Crum, 49, in there. He threw it out in the general direction of Matt Odle, who was out there with Matt Bellini, and a quick decision by Detmer to get rid of it as he was in trouble.
Well, I said this early in the first quarter. Whatever they do down here, they better do it quick.
Shuttle system still in effect as Whittingham checks back in at fullback from the far sideline. BYU has to score here to have any chance in this game. Touchdown to Darren Handley. Beautifully thrown ball by Ty Detmer out of the reach of the defense.
Handley is the tight end on the right side. He's going to run on Shannon now, just right across the goal line. Shannon stops running to jump. And that creates the space for Handley to catch the ball. Again, Detmer, this is a terrific pass by Detmer. Couldn't have been better. Over Shannon's reach to Handley, who gets his foot in. Touchdown, BYU.
Jason Chaffetz for the extra point right down the middle. And it's 34-17 with 52 seconds left in the third quarter. Now BYU has scored 14 unanswered points. Seconds left in the third quarter. Darren Handley with a nice touchdown catch, and this is a game again. It's still a 17-point spread as Earl Kaufman will kick it off, and back to receive is Randall Hill at the 1. Pretty good coverage by BYU as Hill goes down at the 23.
Here's that touchdown again. Detmer throwing it over Shannon to Handley. And let's watch Shannon as he goes right in front of the official. It's good. Do you get any points for that?
I don't know. I didn't even see a flag fly. 6 plays, 60 yards, under 3 minutes. BYU got the quick strike it was looking for. Now defense is the word for the guys from Provo. And they get it on first down as Fred Highsmith is stopped. Wrapping him up, Troy Long, who's really playing strong from strong safety. Also, number 50, Reagan Hansen. We're in the last 30 seconds now of the third quarter.
Reagan Hansen, number 50, he never hesitated for 1 second. Read it right through the hole. He slowed it up. And here comes the rest of the defense. And Miami fans are going to hate me for this, but I have to talk about the Maryland game that I was here a few years ago where they led big at the half.
What, 31-0?
Yeah, something like that.
Out to the left side, and a dandy grab by Dale Dawkins. That will be the final play of the third quarter as the junior goes tall near the sidelines to pull one down. The teams will switch end, and to a certain extent, the momentum has switched to BYU, but on to the fourth quarter will go with Miami still up by 17. They're not telling us we're number 4. They're saying they own the fourth quarter. It all started in Tuscaloosa with Bear Bryant, that we own the fourth quarter bit. And Miami certainly has this year. They've outscored their opponents by a count of 101-10. Lavelle Edwards' team has outscored his opponents 129-41. Two good fourth quarter teams here with Miami on top 34-17. On the coverage, but Andre Brown at 6'3", 212 catches his 9th pass of the night.
BYU gambling, man coverage. Bergeson trying to cover Brown. He never gets there. And Walsh again delivers the ball so quickly and so accurately that the slightest mistake in coverage turns out to be a big play.
Andre Brown, 9 catches for 130 yards. And here goes Cleveland Gary. Running right into the back of Andre Brown as he gets across midfield inside the 45 of BYU. Chad Robinson finally in on the stop. But Cleveland Gary running hard. Football News named him a first-team All-American for this '88 season. When he's up over 1,000 yards, when you put his rushing and receiving stats together. The give is to Fred Highsmith. He's to the 40. They will spot it past the first down marker. So the Hurricanes will move the chains once more.
Well, this is the advantage that Miami had coming in. Their offensive line versus a beat-up, weakened BYU defensive line. Of course, low percentage of turnover. If you run the ball, just try to pound it out, eat up the clock with a lead. That's what Jimmy Johnson wants to do and what Lavelle Edwards would like to stop.
Alex Johnson has replaced Fred Highsmith for Miami. Highsmith had some sort of equipment problem with his shoulder pads. First down at the 39. Picked off by Eric Bergeson, but he is out of bounds. Alex Johnson down the far sidelines against number 7 of BYU.
This is a break for Miami. Bergeson sitting back there waiting, trying to keep those feet in. No chance. He was out of bounds.
Steve Walsh tonight, 18 for 31, 1 picked off, but he's thrown for 219 yards. Has a touchdown pass tonight. There's Cleveland Gary again. Holding on for dear life is Tim Knight. We haven't talked much about Tim. He's playing with a sprained ankle and was not expected to play much. Normally the nose guard starter, Mark Smith, in his place tonight. Knight, a 6'5", 270 senior. Out of Idaho. He didn't need his ankles for that one. Just had to hold on, huh? He's hobbled with that sprained ankle, but can play evidently.
Big play here, Bob.
Yeah, 3rd and 8. They stop him here. A lot of time left in this 4th quarter. And with coverage by Brian Mitchell, Andre Brown can't hold on, but flags fly.
Pass interference on the defense.
And again, with Brian Mitchell playing, the absence of Rodney Rice comes into play.
They're going to call it. You can see it. It is interference on Mitchell. Mitchell's night started real well with a block kick. Since then, they've been picking on him, and that's the reason they've been picking on him. Rodney Rice, arguably the best defensive back that BYU has, broke his arm, 2 bones in his arm early in the game, and Mitchell has had to come in to fill in for him.
From left tackle, all over him as Gary tried to stop and come back the other way. Pete Hartston met him head on, and he just slid down under him. And so BYU's defense, despite the penalty, playing well.
Harrison was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. Oklahoma State, Colorado, Stanford, Arizona, Nebraska. He actually went to Colorado in '86 and transferred to BYU. He's now starting.
From Regan Hansen and got a couple of more yards. Cleveland Gary, the all-time #1 receiver at Miami for a running back.
Watch Fred Highsmith. They lined up in trips to the right side. Now Highsmith playing actually a slot position, picking up Robinson just in time. Gives enough time to Walsh to get the ball over the middle. There you can see the end of the play. Again, an excellent pass. Pretty good play by Reagan Hansen getting his hand on Garrett.
On the 10th play of the drive, Walsh to the end zone. Intercepted by Eric Ferguson. Andre Brown right at the corner flag, and luckily for BYU, the officials ruled Ferguson's momentum took him into the end zone. That means they'll be at the 20 instead of just outside the goal line. Ferguson with his first interception of the season.
I have to tell you, Ferguson is beat on this play so badly. Right there, he's way off the ball. He closes. Look at how far he was beaten. What a catch. That's just tremendous recovery by Ferguson. He's from Snow Junior College in Utah. Transfer. Good player.
Hey, Lavelle Edwards and his defensive coordinator, Dick Phelps, have to be happy right now. They're back in the game. Draw play to Fred Whittingham. And he's out over the 35. Bubba McDowell, the cornerback, had to make the tackle after a 19-yard draw play to the fullback.
300-pound John Hunter, Warren Wheat on the left side of that line. It's a little bit of a counter, like the counter tray the Redskins run. They clean it out. And here comes Whittingham. Not a lot of great speed, but these guys are big. They can't run outside, but they can block down the middle. They get it done there.
Detmer swinging it, and Mike Solito a little late in looking for the football. It was delivered low, but Solito obviously was not expecting it to be there that quickly. So you've got the junior receiver and the freshman quarterback talking things over.
You'll see that again. That play was open. The ball was thrown into the ground. The play that's worked well for BYU has been Bellini in the slot and that quick pass right up the seam. If they get the right coverage, I'm sure they'll go back to it.
To the right side, and Randy Shannon had a chance to pick it off, and he has nothing but green facing him if he holds on.
Touchdown the other way if Shannon can hold on to it. He's right where he needs to be. Bellini was in the backfield, just 190 pounds. Watch him pick up the blitz. He'll read it, step in there, and Crum stops him dead in his tracks.
Flag fly as Detmer runs for the first down into Miami territory beyond the 40. Russell Maryland on the stop, but will they call it back?
They will. It's going to be holding.
A 22-yard gain called back on 3rd and 10.
BYU is notorious, at least with other teams. They hold as well as any team in the nation, and they'll say because they are a little bit slow of foot on the line, they do a great job of holding, but sometimes it can get to them.
Evidently, left tackle John Hunter, 68, is the senior they got for grabbing that time.
That was costly. 68, John Hunter. Hawkins has beaten him to the inside.
Yeah, I would call that holding.
Yeah, you ought to be on defense.
Nicely done in the open field.
Yeah.
Now it'll be 3rd and 20 for the Cougars. They've got to get to their own 49 for a first down. Hawkins has Detmer in his sights. And a little shovel pass toward Whittingham will go incomplete as Greg Mark and Russell Maryland were there. But it was Bill Hawkins who destroyed the play right from the start. as he beat John Hunter again.
Well, they need a back on that side to help Hunter. Hunter is defenseless against Hawkins, the All-American. He's just too quick. He's getting around him right away.
BYU will have to kick on 4th and 20. 10:22 remaining in the game. A lot of time left if they had done something with that drive. Oh, Pat Thompson hits one high. All the way down to the 26. Darrell Spencer takes it right there, and he is smothered. A 45-yard kick, -3 on the return. Miami still on top, 34-17. Prime time CFA football is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, Today Chevrolet. By the American Express card. Membership has its privileges. Don't leave home without it. And by Transamerica. For insurance and financial services, the power of the pyramid is working for you. With Chris Fowler and Kevin Kiley, Bob Carpenter at the Orange Bowl in Miami. 10:13 remaining. Hurricanes 34, Cougars 17. On first down, it is Fred Highsmith. And this BYU defense, which had given up 115 points in its last 3 ball games, has really come alive.
They're getting instant penetration here, and that's helping.
On the defense, 5 yards, still first down.
Kevin, you know something? LaVelle Edwards' team and Dick Phelps, the defensive coordinator, you got to take your hat off to them right now, because as shorthanded as they are on the defensive line, you would figure the second quarter would be, or second half rather, would be very tough on them. They played very well since halftime.
Well, I don't believe they've given up any points, have they?
None. Miami led 34-3 at the half. Here's Highsmith again. Nothing there as he was met by Mark Neal. Mark's a 6'4" junior out of San Francisco who helps out Dwayne Johnson at outside linebacker. They're playing a lot of backers tonight with being shorthanded at defensive tackle.
They have to remember there's a lot of pride in the BYU program. A former national championship team, although Wyoming has won the WAC the last 2 years, the top contender is always BYU, it seems, because of all the consecutive conference championships they had in the late 70s and 80s.
Catch number 10 for Andre here tonight. The team record for a game is 12. Coming up after our game, we'll go back to SportsCenter where Bill Patrick and Charlie Steiner are standing by to update your day. Then it's down to the wire. A tribute to Barry Sanders as we take a look at the 1988 race for the Heisman Trophy. Barry is getting ready for a ball game in Japan against Texas Tech that will be starting momentarily. Nothing there as Pete Harston, the left tackle, met him head on. But the clock runs on. That's BYU's biggest enemy right now with 8.5 minutes remaining in the game.
The two starting inside linebackers, Davis 36, Hansen number 50, selling out in the middle, getting help from Hairston. And what they're doing, I said earlier, a few minutes ago, they're getting instant penetration, just ruining Miami's blocking scheme, and they're coming on basically every play trying to cause a turnover.
Over the top of everyone. Out in the pattern was Andre Brown. He got cut off way before where that pass fell as we watch the BYU coverage.
Well, here they come trying to get outside Bethel. There's nothing there. Walsh is reading and out and up. This is Andre Brown on Ferguson. Now he goes to the sideline. Walsh wants him to go up the field. He throws it way deep. BYU playing good run defense and also good pass defense now.
3rd down and 13. field and will be well short of first down yards. Chad Robinson, the man who got outside to contain the play, then it was up to the pursuit.
That's what they say. Now, if you have a defense that's not quick of foot and they're well drilled, anticipation, and that's exactly what BYU is doing in the second half. They're not quick. They may be even slower than they were in the first half, but they're reading and getting there quickly, and that's what Robinson did. That's pretty good defense.
Tim Kalau will kick it. He spun it twice for 38 yards. Running back Michael Bryan is back inside his own 25. BYU went for the block, and this is going to be tough to return. So the fair catch inside the 20 on a nice 44-yard kick by Tim Kalau. 7:02 remaining. BYU with it, but trailing by 17. BYU 34-17 on ESPN. And tomorrow we've got the NFL covered for you. NFL Game Day previews the Sunday of action. NFL Prime Time brings you all the highlights. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll continue with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Oilers from the Astrodome. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann will call it for you tomorrow night. BYU needs a quick scoring drive with 7:02 remaining. Detmer. This one could be intercepted. And it is by Bernard Clark. He got his receiver right in the shoulder pad, and Clark has his second interception of the year.
Well, this is a pass that's wide open, and Denver will hit. That's Odell. Hit Odell right in the chest, went through his hands, hit him in that upper part of the shoulder pad, and then it was fair game for the entire Miami defense. Clark wrestled it away. Tough break for BYU.
Miami will bring in their sophomore quarterback, Craig Erickson. Turnovers decimating to BYU tonight. Erickson, a 6'2 sophomore out of Atlantis, Florida. Look at that rifle arm, but it's too low for Andre Brown. You get an indication there of how hard Craig can throw the ball. Coming out of high school in Atlantis, he was highly recruited, considered a better athlete than Steve Walsh. And he is, well, with Walsh only being a junior, the heir apparent, if you will, but there may not be much time left by the time Walsh leaves.
Well, there's discussion that they may redshirt Erickson next year. They call him the best backup in the country. I don't know what kind of comfort that is there.
He's thrown for 5 touchdowns this year. Here's Leonard Conley. Down to the 20 where Bob Davis got him. You know, Kevin, some of the other outstanding Miami quarterbacks had to wait for their time, too. Some of them didn't play until they were juniors.
Well, Testaverde, I think, did he play? I think he only was a senior.
Yeah.
I think he played did he play the 1 year, 2 years?
Sophomore and junior year. Just a little time off for Steve Walsh. I really liked what Steve said earlier tonight. He was very proud to finish as high in the Heisman voting as he did, which was 5th, and he had nothing but congratulations for Barry Sanders. 4th rather. There's a touchdown pass to Dale Dawkins. Craig Erickson with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, it seemed, to Dawkins running a crossing pattern. A 20-yard touchdown throw.
Nice job by the offensive line, and then Erickson will do something that most backups don't. Watch him settle and then step to his right, avoid the rush. Still the accuracy to Dawson, and poor Brian Mitchell, after that block punt, they made him pay tonight.
Burned again. Carlos Huerta still hasn't missed one this year. And with 6:03 remaining, Miami is on top of BYU by a score of 41-17. Good offensively. Kevin, you can't give them 24 points by making mistakes when you're on offense.
Well, Bobby, they didn't give him 24 points. They just gave him the ball. The Miami did the rest. Well, and Lavelle looks like he could have seen the monitor there. That's right. This team reminds me, the only other team I've seen that would make you as nervous when you turn the ball over is Oklahoma. It just seems like every time you turn it over, they go crazy with it.
On the kickoff, BYU's number 25 is Sim Tishia, and he returns it. He was the short man as the ball is up near the 35-yard line where the Cougars will start there. You know, with Miami having such another fine season and the controversy of whether they would be number one if they beat Nebraska and if West Virginia beat Notre Dame, the talk comes up again about the polls in the national playoff. Jimmy Johnson thinks there are some real negatives surrounding a national playoff, Kev.
He made some very interesting points that we'll cover right after this play.
Nice pass up the sideline. Bryce Dolman, that freshman, receiving one from Ty Detmer. You BYU fans are seeing a connection of the future with number 14 to 83.
Detmer's looked very well. And Jimmy, what Jimmy was saying is, of course, the tradition of the bowls should be retained, and that, of course, would be altered in the playoff system. But also the fans. If you had a 3 or 4 game playoff, which game the fans would have to pay and travel to these games? They would not be home games. And which game would they go to? You'd have to guess how far your team would go. You couldn't afford it.
Not many people have thought about the fans in that discussion. There's a fumble. Falling on it is Darren Hanley, the tight end. Pressure by Russell Maryland on the quarterback, and alertly Darren Hanley right there. Number 88 fell on the football.
There also is some discussion, Bobby, about a game after the final bowl game, like a super game.
A winner takes all type thing.
Suppose West Virginia was to lose to Notre Dame, or beat Notre Dame, excuse me, and there was some discussion about West Virginia and Miami, who would be number one. Supposing Miami beats Nebraska, of course, then you would take the top 2 and play them off. I don't think that is such a bad idea. I think that's an excellent idea.
We have to remember these guys are student athletes, too. They've got to go to class in the midst of all that action. Down the middle, there's Chuck Pupler, the senior out of Draper, Utah, the all-WAC performer. Not heard from much tonight.
Super pass by Detmer again. Detmer is a kid they expect to go far at BYU. Has tremendous talent. Again, he's just a freshman. Watch the touch on this thing between the zone in the middle of the field. It has to be accurate or it's intercepted. Nice catch by Cutler, but very well thrown.
Encroaching a couple of times. Randy Shannon. BYU will run the play. It's incomplete. Randy Shannon once came back and then came across again.
Offside on the defense.
I'm wondering if Ty Detmer knew that was an offsides on Miami, and if he did, why throw it away? Just throw that thing into the end zone.
It's a free play. Well, I think we're seeing a couple of pretty young, talented quarterbacks here tonight. Ty Detmer, Craig Erickson of Miami.
Also, we should say that Lavelle Edwards says that BYU is on the way back. He has tremendous young talent. He expects to be at the top of his game in a year or two.
He'll run toward the marker and be met there by Jimmy Jones. You like to see some intelligence in a young quarterback, too, and he wasn't about to take on number 63. He was ready to dive into the turf.
That's instinct.
Survival. I'm not taking on that guy. It was 1st and 5. It'll be 2nd and 2. They open up with a draw. Marcelino down near the goal line. Miami was blitzing and may have been offside again. And a beautiful call by BYU as they ran the draw play, and there was a beautiful hole to run through.
a perfect call against the blitz.
Moving.
Jimmy's saying the offensive guard was moving, and that he wants it on the offense. But see Clark getting kicked out there by the center, and here comes Salito. What an effort by Salito trying to get into the end zone. Tremendous hit by Hart. Is that Hart?
Yeah, the last one was anyway. First and goal for the Cougars. 41-17 Miami. 3:10 remaining. Detmer fumbles it. And Miami thinks they have the football. Richard Newbill, the strong side linebacker, racking up the quarterback on the play, and the Hurricanes have recovered as close as they could to their own end zone.
Well, that's Hanley. The tight end says he had the ball. This is a problem for BYU, trying to punch it in. Detmer. The ball is loose, his knee is not down, and it's in the end zone. And your guess is as good as mine after that one.
Yeah, well, it is. They have brought the ball out to the 20, so it definitely was over the goal line. And on the road in Miami, misery for the Cougars. They've coughed it up 6 times. They've been sacked 4, dropped 5, lots of penalties, and pretty bad in third down situations.
8 turnovers against Utah 2 weeks ago.
Greg Erickson, the quarterback, as Miami will coast to a win that will make them 10-1 on the year, with Nebraska on tap in this ballpark on the 2nd of January. Leonard Conley carrying the ball. Kevin, let's talk a little bit more about what you mentioned a couple of hours ago. Jimmy Johnson says that next year he will have a big-time team, one of his best teams ever. And when you look at his schedule, which isn't as tough as this year, their toughest games will be at Michigan State, at Florida State, and at Pitt. They've got Notre Dame coming in here. This is a ball club that figures to be 10-1 or 11-0 again a year from now, maybe.
Well, Lou Holtz is saying he'll have a better team next year.
Cleveland Gary manhandled by Pete Harston. Deion Sanders won't be with Florida State when this team visits Tallahassee.
I think a lot has to do with the way, in college, the way the team fits together, the chemistry of a team. I don't think returning talent, if you have 15 players or 12 players coming back, makes a difference. I think the quarterback position definitely makes a difference. I think the fact that Steve Walsh is 90% sure what they're saying around here, that Steve Walsh will come back. He's a major key, and so is Tony Rice for Notre Dame. That's the guy you want to come back.
Greg Erickson, as Miami continues to throw. It's a bomb! Randall Hill to the 30. Eric Ferguson brought him down, or he would have been gone. It's a 50-yard gain as it is. Now, this is where some folks get a little upset when you're throwing the football like this with 1:39 remaining.
Well, you can take it off of Jimmy. It's not Jimmy's fault. Man coverage. Erickson's got a gun, and they're trying to guard a man-to-man out there. And that's Thrill Hill, and you can't guard Thrill Hill man-to-man. Ferguson finds that out as he drags him down. That's coverage. It's what Jimmy said. We didn't run it up on Notre Dame a few years ago. It was as much Notre Dame's fault as it was ours. This is a team that takes what the coverage gives them, and they run their offense.
I think the play selection is what some Miami opponents, their fans at least, get a little mad about. Now, there's a run straight into the line with 1:20 remaining, but I don't think Jimmy Johnson is the kind of guy. He's too smart, and he knows that you face teams again down the road, and he knows he'll be opening up the season in Provo 2 years from now.
Well, that's not. You have your backup quarterback in. Suppose your number 1 goes down, and all year you run the ball into the line with your backup. He never gets any experience. He has to read the defense. He has to take what the defense gives him. Lavelle knows that, and Jimmy knows that. You have to do it.
So a penalty will will move it down inside the 15 of BYU.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense. First down.
11 penalties for 126 yards to the Cougars tonight to go along with all those turnovers. A minute remaining now as Miami has first down at the 14. BYU will be 8-4 on the year. They gave it a pretty good effort tonight despite some of the problems, but the turnovers killed them.
I think the second half says a tremendous amount for the Brigham Young program.
Hey, a quick word of thanks from Kevin, Chris, and I to our producer, Freddie Godelli, our director, Chip Dean, and all the folks who have made our job so easy during the '88 season. Our thanks to our great production crew from ESPN. Conley fighting down inside the 5. That will move the chains, so the clock is stopped with 9 seconds remaining. So the Lavelle Edwards and his Cougars will go to the Freedom Bowl 8-4 to play the Buffaloes of Colorado, Eric Bieniemy and company. And it'll be 10-1 Miami under Jimmy Johnson to the Orange Bowl to take on Nebraska. Miami 10-1 as the Hurricanes beat the Cougars by a score of 41-17. We'll be back in a moment from Miami to wrap up our regular season coverage on ESPN's Prime Time. These Hurricanes using good offense and good defense to beat BYU 41-17 tonight. And part of that defense came from our Casio player of the game, Bobby Harden, the junior strong safety, with 3 interceptions and 11 tackles on the night. He now has 4 interceptions on the year. His great speed paid off for Miami tonight. Kevin Kiley, your final thoughts on this game as we wrap up our regular season on ESPN.
Well, my final thoughts are it's been a pleasure working with you, Bobby. Of course, we have a bowl game coming up and all the guys down in the truck. Miami is an outstanding football team. They've had a great schedule. 1 more to go. Nebraska in the Orange Bowl, and that's dead even as far as I'm concerned. That'll be a whale of a game, as well as Notre Dame, West Virginia. But we're headed to the Holiday Bowl for what I think will be one of the great bowl games, Oklahoma State and Wyoming.
Yeah, and we've got the Heisman Trophy winner in Barry Sanders, who's playing right now over in Japan. Coming up after our coverage ends, we'll be going back to SportsCenter, where Bill Patrick and Charlie Steiner are standing by. And then it's down to the wire, a tribute to Barry Sanders, as we take a look at the '88 race for the Heisman Trophy. For Chris Fowler and Kevin Kiley, Bob Carpenter, good night from Miami, where the Hurricanes beat the Cougars. And now, here's SportsCenter with Charlie Steiner and